All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Pot Milk. I'm here in East Texas today, and it is a warm, beautiful winter day, and I'm setting up some new stacks for myself. And I've seen a lot of people posting stack pictures on Instagram, and I love to see that. I love that there's a lot of effort to go and put out some stacks and find more snakes. I think it's great that you guys are doing that. But when I look at a lot of these pictures, I see what I consider to be a missed opportunity and loss of potential. So I wanted to talk about the method that I use to set stacks and what I do to maximize the potential of the tin that I'm using and really take that window of opportunity and expand it to its maximum, at least the best way that I've found so far to do that. All right, so this is how I see a lot of people's tin set up. It's essentially one single layer stacked on top of another single layer without a single bit of offset. You know, they're straight on top of each other. And to be fair, this will absolutely still catch snakes. But my whole point with this is if you're gonna go and acquire the tin, chop it up, bring it out into the woods somewhere, set it up, set yourself up a spot, why not take a little bit more effort to maximize the potential of that stack so that you can really expand that window of opportunity. Let's address a few of the issues that I have with a stack like this and why you're missing out on some potential. So with every single layer set on top of each other, you have exposure of light coming in at every single layer. Now that's not a lot, right? You know, there's still a dark center in the middle of this, but the edges, every single edge, front edge, side edges, back edges, every single bit of it is allowing light to penetrate the stack of tin. And fossorial snakes like milk snakes, king snakes, prairie king snakes, anything a really secretive animal that doesn't like to be seen is going to want to stay in a really dark spot. And the introduction of a bunch of light into that stack of tin is going to mean that that snake is less likely to use it or less likely to stay in there for a long time. So another problem with the exposed edges like this is the fact that you allow more wind into a stack. So we have these end edges here, wind can enter the stack here, and you have all these exposures that can wick away moisture, and if wind is coming through there, it's pulling moisture out of the middle of the stack of tin, as well as it can help cool off that stack of tin, which really, you know, your whole point of having a stack like this is so that you have a good thermal gradient and thermal insulation. So you want it to be very stable. You want a stable humidity environment, and you want a stable thermal environment so that those snakes can feel very comfortable and stay in there for a long time. So the method that I use to set up a stack of tin basically mitigates all of those different factors that we just talked about. And Clint likes to call this the stackazine method. Some of the people that I've talked to about this like to call it a zipper method. Doesn't really matter what you call it, but the fact is we can mitigate all of those different factors. We can mitigate the penetration of light as well as humidity and thermal loss by setting it up in a very particular way. So the first step to this process is to clear out a spot where you're going to set your tin that's about 1.5 times the width of the tin. So this tin's probably about 2 feet across, so I want to set up a spot that's about 3 feet across. I'm not measuring this, I'm just eyeballing it, but again, you want to be able to set it up so that you can lay down the bottom layers, the foundation of your stack, as flat as possible with the ground. All right, guys, so I'm switching to the GoPro for this part, but essentially I've got my spot cleared, and now I'm gonna lay down my first 2 sheets of tin, and I'm gonna let them overlap by about a foot, about 8 to 12 inches or so in the middle. It kind of depends on how much space you have. I've got a nice wide area that I can really kind of expand a nice big footprint for this. But I'm gonna take my smallest 2 pieces and put those on the bottom. So that way, as I build this up, then any of the gappier, kind of bigger ends to this can catch larger snakes. We can kind of keep some smaller fossorial snakes in the middle, and then if you get stuff like hognose that maybe want to come in on the edge, or any sort of bigger snakes that need a little bit more of a gap, they can get that on the ends of the stack. And I'm going to basically build up my stack just like this, where I do 1 sheet offset and then another, just like a zipper. Okay, and there you have it. Nicely laid stack of tin. little bit of gap there on the ends. But basically what we're gonna do now, the last part of this, is I'm gonna take this material that I just cleared out. I'm gonna kind of stuff the ends lightly. You don't want to pack it too tightly. You want snakes to be able to get in there pretty easily, but you also want to pack it and kind of keep that a nice dark cavity inside. All right guys, so there you go. That's basically the final product. We have a really nice set stack of 10. Now I've used 5 layers here, and I found that for most of what I do, that seems to be sufficient. But I want to do some experiments where I basically see you know, what kind of thermal gradient you get at different levels, and get a little bit more data on that, because I don't really want to speculate too much on what the optimum number of layers is. But 5 seems to work pretty well for most of what I do. That's basically what I set out, where I'm trying to maximize the use of my tin. Hopefully we can address that in another video. Okay, so one final point that I want to make about this is, you know, once you have your stack of tin set up like this and a snake decides to go into it, now that it's inside, it doesn't have to go out of the stack of tin to move up and down in layers, because that edge is now inside the stack of tin. And if they want to get down there on the bottom, they crawl in at the bottom, they decide they need to go to the top, they can do that without exposing themselves. So it maintains that feeling of safety, and they never have to leave the stack through a variety of conditions. So again, we're trying to expand that window of opportunity and make it a lot easier for us to encounter that snake and see it using that stack, and hopefully give it a opportunity to kind of make a new home, you know, something that it's going to want to keep coming back to. And we've seen that a lot with the milk snakes that we get down in South Texas, where we've set up stacks in what I consider the proper way, and the snakes really seem to love it. All right, it's a lot of hot and sweaty work, but it's worth it when you've got a really good stack of 10 that you can look forward to coming and checking. I hope this was valuable information for you guys. I hope you guys, can look at this and use it as a reference, and hopefully, you know, I start seeing some of you guys put out stacks of 10 that look like this, and I think you're going to be happier with the results. All right, one last thing. I wanted to give a shout out to Brandon, who I met earlier while I was getting some tin for my car out on the road, and he pointed out this really nice hardwood bottom that was just down the road that I didn't know about. And I'm almost certain this tree here has got a couple of milk snakes living in it. So this is going to get a couple of stacks. So nice to get the racer tin out and get some red belly tin out, and then maybe get some milk snakes over here nearby. Really cool. Thank you, man.
That's fucking beautiful.